episode of Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. I am Bean, and if you're here, please hit the thumbs up, please. It's Sunday, just before 6 p.m. right now, and we're going to get this live stream jumping. Just before I get into some of these subjects, I'm going to share this on Twitter and on Facebook. Please hit the thumbs up as you enter on the live stream. I got this up on Facebook. So now I'm going to share this on my Twitter page. Okay, so got it on Twitter. Go on there. All right. So wherever you are around this world, hopefully you're having a good day. As for me, I'm here, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. And we're going to talk some boxing like we do every week. So let me first say congrats to Giorgio Asala. He did an interview with me a few weeks ago, and he had a fight this weekend, and he won by TKO in round 4. He stopped his opponent. For those who may or may not have seen the interview we did, Giorgio Asala is from Romania. He relocated at the age of 17. He relocated to United Kingdom, and that's where he's taking off with his boxing career. So we want to wish him well on his boxing journey. So that should put him at 9 wins and no losses and no draws. So again, congrats to Giorgio Asala. In heavyweight boxing, of course, we know on Netflix, Saturday, April the 11th, the main card will be Tyson Fury in his comeback fight versus Arslan Big Mac Madoff. So let me know if you have an opinion or what's your assessment on Tyson Fury's comeback against the Russian Arslan Big Mac Madoff. Do you think Tyson Fury wins on points convincingly? Do you see Tyson Fury potentially stopping Arslan Big Mac Madoff in the late rounds? Will Tyson Fury get caught with something like he did by Ngannou and Deontay Wilder, and earlier career by Pajovic and Steve Cunningham? Will he be hit and maybe dropped and get back up? Because we know Tyson Fury has been dropped, but he's always been victorious, except for his 2 fights with Alexander Usyk, his only 2 losses. Now on that on that same card, we know on the undercard we have Regis Prograis versus Conor Benn. Regis Prograis definitely feels very strongly that he will win the fight. He's not worried about the power, the punching power of Conor Benn. So I don't know. I'm still going to have to sit back and really think on who wins that fight. Some people will say Regis Prograis is not the best, but then some people say Conor Benn is not the best as well. So it's kind of a evenly matched fight. But Regis Prograis, let's look at his resume just to give a better account and better context to the whole situation. But let me know your opinion. So, all right. So Regis Prograis, 30 wins, 24 by knockout, 3 losses, no draws. It's not a bad record. 80% knockout ratio, age 37. He's a southpaw stance fighter, standing at 5'8" and 67-inch reach. Hailing out of New Orleans, but now he resides in Houston, Texas. So Regis Prograis had fought back in 2025, Joseph Diaz. He won by unanimous decision. In 2024, he fought Jack Catterall, lost by unanimous decision. 2023, he lost to Devin Haney by a unanimous decision. He's fought Josh Taylor, who he lost to as well. But he does have a decent resume in the regard that he's fought some familiar names. He fought Abel Ramos. So he probably has more variety of names, whereas the biggest step for Conor Benn was his fight with Chris Eubank. His 2 fights with him were probably his biggest name. And then he fought Chris Algieri back in the day. So yeah, it's kind of hard for me to really say who's going to win that fight. But hey, maybe you have your mind made up. If you think Conor Benn will beat Regis Prograis, let me know. If you think Regis Prograis will beat Conor Benn, let me please know in the comments. We're going to go back to that same card for Fury versus Magmadov. All right, so also on the undercard, we have Frazier Clark versus Justice Huoney. Justice Huoney, as we saw with when he fought a common opponent, Frazier Clark and Justice Huoney both fought Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley stopped Frazier Clark in their second fight. In the first fight, it was a war. Justice Huoney also fought Fabio Wardley not too long ago and was winning every round. And I believe maybe in the 7th or 8th round, he was met by that sledgehammer right hand of Fabio Wardley, and he was down for the count. So, how do y'all think it'll work with Frazier Clark? Although Frazier Clark can punch, he doesn't punch like Fabio Wardley. But let's look at Frazier Clark real quick. His box rec, his knockout ratio. And although he can crack, like I said, he doesn't hit like a Frazier Clark who has a 95% knockout ratio. So let's look at Big Frage. All right, Frazier Clark, 9 wins, 7 knockouts, 2 losses, and 1 draw. He has a 77% knockout ratio, which still isn't bad. So a knockout ratio of 77% out of UK. And his last fight was a split decision, a loss to Jamie TKV. Hey, what's going on, Roger Downs? What's going on? Please hit the thumbs up. Please hit thumbs up. He also fought a common opponent of Dillian White and a common opponent of Lawrence Okoli. He fought Ebenezer Tete in 2025. Frazier Clark won by TKO. A year before that, in 2024, he fought Fabio Wardley and lost by TKO. He was stopped by Fabio Wardley. In 2023, he fought Dave Allen and won. He fought Marius Walk in 2023. He beat him. So he has Marius Walk, looks like a step-up type level fighter. Dave Allen. And then he fought the bigger name in Fabio Wardley. And then he fought Ebenezer Tete and Jamie TKV. So that's what we pretty much have with Frazier Clark. Now, Justice Huney has 12 wins, 7 losses, 12 wins, 1 loss. 7 of his wins, 7 of the 12 wins are by KO, and he has no draws. He has a 58% KO ratio. Hailing out of Queensland, Australia, age 26, Orthodox fighter. He's 6'4". So he fought Fabio Wardley last year. Like I said, he lost by being knocked out, but he was pretty much winning all the rounds until he got stopped. So he does show that he has a certain pedigree to be able to stick in there. And I feel like Frazier Clark, although he may be able to hurt him, he doesn't have the type of power that Fabio Wardley has to just catch him with that one punch and it's like lights out. He would probably have to hit him with a couple punches, like a combination of punches, a 3 punch or whatever. I feel like if he fights a smarter fight, which he probably would, learning from the Fabio Wardley loss, I think Justice Huney will be a little smarter in his approach when he does fight big Frazier Clark. So yeah, I think Justice Huney could win by points. I could see him winning by a points decision over Frazier Clark because he has better movement, better mobility, quicker hands. So I think he'll be smart. I don't think he's going to try to slug it out with the bigger Frazier Clark, in my opinion. But, let me know what you think in the chat. And like I said, shout outs to my guy, Robert Downs. You said Joshua versus Dave Allen might happen. Oh, wow. Okay. So if that's his comeback fight, I would take AJ by knockout in a couple rounds. I'm not necessarily impressed with Dave Allen. And Dave Allen said he wasn't impressed with Justice Huoney in an interview. But I personally feel like Justice Huoney would beat Dave Allen. I see Justice Huoney beating Dave Allen. He didn't do enough when he fought Makhmadov. Dave Allen didn't. And I feel like Justice Huoney could beat Makhmadov. I would just see him being a smart fighter to outboxing, the same way he would do Frazier Clark when they fight. Use the ring, use your better movement, and win. But basically, like you said, Roger Downs, it's a tune-up for AJ for sure. If he fights Dave Allen, it's definitely a tune-up. That's for sure. Now on that card, one more of the main undercard fights is the match between Jamie TKV versus Richard Riakporhe. Richard Riakporhe is somebody I've been kind of staying in tune with for a while now. He has the type of physique now at heavyweight. You could tell he's conditioned. Whereas Jamie TKV, he's not necessarily a conditioned fighter. Not to say you can always go by looks, because we saw what happened with AJ and Andy Ruiz. We saw a guy who didn't look the part, like Andy Ruiz, to be able to stop AJ, who was always in good physique and condition. Or kind of like Tyson Fury, how he could look, not necessarily by the eye, he looks like he's out of shape, but his conditioning is always on point. And he proved that with in the Wilder fight or whatever. So we'll see. We'll see how this all goes down. But I'm gonna take Richard Riakporhe by late round stoppage. I think the conditioning of him, and if he goes to the body of Jamie TKV and wear him down, I think he'll be smart. If he keeps going to the body, break him down, take him to deep waters, championship rounds, if it goes that far, Richard Riakporhe should be able to stop TKV within the distance. So I have Conor Benn versus Prograis up in the air, 50-50. I'm not sure as of yet. I'm going to sit back and think on it. I got Richard Riakporhe, late stoppage over TKV. And I got Justice Huoney beating Frazier Clark by a points decision. Fury versus Makhmadov will likely be a points decision by Tyson Fury. I do not see Tyson Fury stopping Makhmadov. He doesn't apply the type of pressure. He doesn't work the body the same way as Ajit Kabiel, who was able to be successful in stopping Makhmadov by implementing the type of body work he did against Makhmadov. I feel like Fury is going to, he's going to look like the Fury we saw against Dillian White, kind of mixed with the Fury of Klitschko back in the day. He's going to be on the back foot. He's going to move around. He's going to stick and move. He's going to be smart. He's not going to really go and try to be in a firefight with a puncher like Makhmadov or a guy who's probably stronger than him. So I think he'll play it smart, move around, stick and move, like the old Ben Davison style versus the Crunk style, and went on a points decision against Arslanbek Makhmadov. Now I don't know if y'all saw. It could be just Tyson Fury. You know how he is. He'll say something, and you don't necessarily know how to take it. But he was caught saying that he doesn't even need a trainer for Arslanbek Makhmadov. That he can go in the fight. He can go in that fight without a trainer, and win. So we all know Tyson Fury can, what I would say, talk out the side of his neck. You know what I'm saying? All right, Roger, you said Triple D versus Wardley. Who you got? Oh, believe me, I was going to bring that up. here in a little bit, Roger Downs. I'm going to definitely be covering that. That's a great question. Alfredo Carter, Big Cousin, Zone 15. Thanks for coming through, man. Make sure y'all hit the thumbs up, please. It's very important. If you hit the thumbs up button, it helps me move around the algorithm of the YouTube. Just by simply hitting thumbs up when you get in YouTube, it helps me greatly. It's probably the second best thing you can do. The first thing is tune in to the channel. That's the most important. And if you can hit the thumbs up. All right, so I haven't forgot you, Roger Downs. We're going to get over to that Wardley versus Dubois. That's on my list for sure. All right, so also in heavyweight boxing, we're going to have the upcoming fight with Moses Ntuma, the UK up and coming future star. He definitely has a lot of potential, and he will be fighting American fighter out of Saginaw, Michigan, Jermaine Franklin. They had their sit-down face-off. It was a very respectful face-off. Neither guy disrespected the other. They both understood the assignment. They both know that they can't take each other lightly, So we've never seen Jermaine Franklin dropped, never seen Jermaine Franklin knocked out. So will Moses Ntuma be able to stop Jermaine Franklin? That's the question. What do you think, Robert Downs? Will Moses Ntuma be able to stop Jermaine Franklin? Let me know what you think. Also, on that same undercard, we're going to have Willie Hutchison versus Ezra Taylor. Two UK fighters in the light heavyweight division. Willie's record, 19 wins, 2 losses, no draws, with 14 wins by KO. So 14 wins of his 19 wins are knockouts. 14 knockouts of 19 wins. Ezra Taylor, 13 wins, no losses, no draws. Now, one of Willie Hutchison's losses was by Joshua Buatsi, so we know he makes a lot of noise, especially over in the UK and stuff like that. And that was back in 2024. He lost to Joshua Buatsi. Sounds like it's going to be a good fight. Willie Hutchison has more experience, but Ezra Taylor, I feel like, is moving pretty good. And last time I checked, I think Ezra Taylor is being trained by American trainer Malik Scott, the ex-trainer of Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. So now he has Ezra Taylor underneath his wing. And I think in some aspects, depending on who he has, like with Wilder, I don't think it was a good fit for Malik Scott, even though they're like brothers. Deontay Wilder is a knockout puncher. He's unconventional with his style, and we know his right hand is his main weapon. Well, at least with Ezra Taylor, he's training a guy who has basic fundamentals, so it'll probably be they will mesh, I think, better with each other because Ezra Taylor is fundamentally well-rounded all the way around, if that makes sense. So in that particular fight, I'm not sure who's going to win that. Ezra Taylor versus Willie Hutchison. But, hey, I'm definitely going to tune in because, like I said, that's going to be a good fight to be on. I want to say that's the co-main event maybe, but that's going to be a good fight on that card leading up to Moses Ntuma versus Jermaine Franklin. Roger Downs, you said, yes, Moses all the way. Now, let's go a little bit further then, Roger. Do you think it'll be Moses by knockout, by points decision? How do you think that Moses is going to beat Jermaine Franklin? And like I said, bear in mind, Jermaine Franklin has not been knocked out. He's never been dropped. He's also fought a war with Dillian White, which arguably Jermaine Franklin won. And he also fought Anthony Joshua, who has a 89% knockout ratio. We all know AJ can punch. And he took AJ's best shots and went the decision. So it's going to be interesting. Roger Downs, you say Moses and Tuma, fourth round stoppage. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see real soon. Let me see if I can find the actual fight date too. Let me see. Yeah, so Moses and Tuma. Remember that fight got postponed because it was supposed to be like in January, but I want to say Moses and Tuma had like a bicep or some type of injury. Well, it's rescheduled. They will be fighting this month on the 28th. So they will be fighting very soon. And I look forward to it. It's going to be a good card. And they will be fighting at the Co-op Live in Manchester, UK. So make sure y'all mark your calendars or set your phone schedule for the 28th of March. Moses Natuma versus Jermaine Franklin with Ezra Taylor versus Willie Hutchison on the undercard. All right. We're about a half hour into the show, so we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it moving. Keep it moving. All right. In the cruiserweight division, I like this right here because I'm a David Benavidez fan. David Benavidez steps up to cruiserweight, and he will be fighting Zurdo Ramirez. Now, we all know that a lot of us wanted to see David Benavidez versus Bivol Oberterviev. With all that, going on or whatever, I guess since they couldn't make a fight locked in with David Benavidez versus Bivol or Beterbiev, he's not waiting around for anybody, and I respect this. He's stepping up to cruiserweight, daring to be great, and he will fight Zurdo Ramirez. David Benavidez record, 31 wins, no losses, no draws, 25 by which are by way of knockout. His opponent, Zurdo Ramirez, his record is 48 wins, one loss, no draws. Ramirez is unified WBO, WBA champ. Now, do y'all see David Benavidez taking Ramirez straps, aka straps his belts at cruiserweight? Do you think he would be victorious? And if so, say, for instance, hypothetically, if Benavidez does beat Zurdo Ramirez at cruiserweight, will he go on to fight Opetaia, who's fighting tonight against Brandon Glanton in the cruiserweight division? Because if y'all saw that footage, you saw Benavidez shaking the hand of Opetaia. He told him, "Hey, I respect you, and I also want to share the ring with you." So there's a good chance that if he gets past Zurdo Ramirez, David Benavidez, or should Ramirez win, the winner may be fighting Opetaia. So we're going to see. Now, David Benavidez has nice hand speed, and that could be a defining factor the hand speed of David Benavidez. And the last couple of fights, as Cuzzo had said on his show, that Zurdo Ramirez has not stopped his last few opponents, his last few opposition. He has not stopped them. So there's a good chance he's not going to stop David Benavidez either. As long as David Benavidez chin resistance, is like it should, and it should be at cruiserweight. He might take punches even better, possibly. With the little extra weight on him, he may take the shots even better at cruiserweight. So we're gonna see. Interesting matchup. Now with Ja Opetaia being stripped of the IBF belt, and he will not be fighting tonight for the IBF belt. He's fighting for the Zuffa belt against Brandon Glanton. Things like that kind of get a little messy or whatever. But we'll see what the future is going to hold. Once we get the results of tonight's fight with Ja Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton, we will see what direction that the winner wants to go, which I feel will be Ja Opetaia. I feel like he will win against Brandon Glanton, but Brandon Glanton is a tough opponent. I did some background research on him, and he can hit. He has a good knockout ratio. He has some power, and he goes to the body well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup tonight, as long as it lasts. Now, as far as the card, I'm not really privy to who's on this Zuffa card tonight, but from my understanding, the undercard was not really a good undercard. So, but hey, it's something to do on a Sunday if you're not doing anything else. And since football season is not here, no Cincinnati Bengals, hey, they got Zuffa boxing now on Sundays. Now, Lamont Roach Sr. did an interview on Mill City. Sr. says Pitbull Cruz won 5 rounds against his son, Lamont Roach Jr., when they fought. He said Lamont Roach Jr., his son, had Pitbull Cruz on his back foot, which is something rarely ever seen. He said in no way was it a draw between his son and Pitbull. He said he did not give Pitbull Cruz 6 rounds. Other than dropping his son in the early rounds, he felt like his son did enough to clinch 7 rounds. So what do you think about that? Was it a fair draw, or did Lamont actually win in your opinion, or did Pitbull Cruz actually win in your opinion? Let me know. He also went on to say this. Lamont Roach Jr.'s dad, Senior said that Pitbull Cruz is ducking the rematch with Lamont Roach Jr. Now, he's saying that. Whether or not that's the case, I haven't really dug deep to find out, but he claims that Pitbull Cruz does not want the smoke in the rematch. So let me know what y'all say. Let me go back in these comments real quick, y'all. I'm going to read these comments. Roger Downs, you said Moses versus Zhang would be good for him to get experience. Absolutely, it would. It would. That would be good experience. Cousin Rico, you said that's going to be a hard fight for him. Which fight you talking about? David Benavidez, Cuzzo? Which match? Yeah, for sure. Roger Downs. Yeah, David Benavidez. I think he gets, sometimes he gets overanalyzed, and people are overly critical about everything about David Benavidez. It's like, what does he have to do to get credit? If he wins against Zero Ramirez, are they going to give him his credit for going up to cruiserweight, or will they just downplay his win? You know what I mean? Because it's like when it comes to David Benavidez, people are very, very critical for whatever reasons they are against David Benavidez. When we all pretty much could see, although one of the faces of boxing is legendary Canelo Alvarez never wanted to fight David Benavidez. It's almost like he knew that, hey, hold on, this is biting off more than I can chew. If I fight him and lose, it's going to look bad or whatever. And I think he just wasn't willing to take that gamble. I don't think Canelo was willing to take the gamble to fight David Benavidez. Now, speaking of Lamont Roach Jr., him versus William Zepeda, how do y'all like that matchup? I like it because Lamont Roach stands in the pocket a lot. He will exchange, and William Zepeda likes to throw volume. He doesn't necessarily have a lot of power, as we saw when he fought Shakur Stevenson. But William Zepeda is a volume puncher. Lamont Roach can take a punch, though, so I don't feel like William Zepeda's punch output is going to bother Lamont Roach a whole lot. And between the two, I feel like Lamont has the power advantage. But it'll be an interesting style matchup. It'll be a an interesting style matchup. Lamont Roach versus William Zepeda. So if you have a prediction on that one, let me know as well. All right. So Bernie the Boxer also did an interview on Mill City. He said Ryan Garcia needs to do the testing, pretty much saying that, hey, Ryan Garcia needs to do his part, basically. And unless he's willing to do advanced testing, it's a cop-out. So basically, if Ryan is going to be compliant and do the testing that's requested by Team Haney, then the fight still may not happen, because in my opinion, it feels like maybe I'm overanalyzing, but it seems like the Haneys and Bill Haney, like the energy has shifted. It doesn't seem like they really, really want to fight. They're not really pushing to fight Ryan Garcia. Like right now, they're talking about fighting Rolly Romero, because you saw the interview with, I believe it was on Ring Magazine, but Devin Haney says, "Well, I'm not going to fight a rematch with Ryan Garcia. I'm going to fight the guy who beat him, which was Rolly Romero." So we'll see how it all pans out. But I mean, it's a possibility Rolly Romero could beat Devin Haney. There is that possibility. Please hit the thumbs up. So you're kind of gambling in that regard too. Sometimes you don't take the fight. The bigger money fight would probably be the rematch, Haney versus Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. The money fight. Well, you run the risk of trying to fight and leapfrog and not fight and run back that rematch that you should have fought a couple fights ago. Now you fight Rolly Romero, say you come up short. Then the fight with you and Ryan Garcia will never have the same appeal that it had before. You're going to lose that luster. So people have to understand that. You got to know how to move in boxing sometimes. Cam J, what's going on, Cuzzo? What's going on? Real quick, since you just came in, Cuzzo, uh, Cam J, who's going to win? Willie Hutchison versus Ezra Taylor, light heavyweight division, on the card of Moses Ntuma versus Jermaine Franklin. Willie Hutchison versus Ezra Taylor. What's your prediction? What's your prediction for David Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez? What's your prediction? Your prediction for Lamont Roach Jr. versus William Zepeda, and prediction, should it come to fruition, Devin Haney versus Rolly Romero. Is that official, Cuzzo? Is it officially done, Cam J? The Rolly Romero versus Devin Haney. Is that official? And something I meant to talk about before. So this happened maybe 3 weeks to a month ago. Gary Russell Jr. was on Fight Hype, and he was just talking about. He kept it simple on Shakur Stevenson. He said he's a genius. Like I'm paraphrasing, but he's very much a genius at knowing distance. You know how he steps back and makes a person miss that punch. You know what I'm saying? He'll step back, and so he, like even what's his name? Floyd Schofield Sr. said he was talking about Shakur Stevenson. He said, yeah, he plays the inches. He'll make you miss by a few inches or whatever when he does that step back like that he always does. All right, well, the way Gary Russell Jr. said, what you have to do to beat Shakur Stevenson, he said you must break his control. He didn't really go into detail when he said break his control, but that's pretty much how he summed it up. So I don't know what y'all take from that, but I feel like Shakur, if you put pressure on him, calculated pressure, and if you could work the body of Shakur Stevenson, and if you have that different level of power, you know what I'm saying, you're going to give him problems. Because Shakur Stevenson he's troubled some people with his hand speed, his movement, like he did to Fime Lopez, of course. But to somebody who's willing to take those punches, maybe like a Lamont Roach, he doesn't mind taking punches. We saw him take some heavy punches from Pitbull Cruz, heavy punches from Tank Davis. We even saw Frank Martin, although he was kind of stumped. Nahir Albright kind of stumbled him in their last fight. Frank Martin still has a decent chin still. I feel like Frank Martin or Albright would give issues to Shakur Stevenson. I feel like O'Shaquie Foster would give issues to Shakur Stevenson. Roger Downs, you said Sugar Ray Leonard could move, speed kills. For sure, for sure. He could definitely move, man. Was a special fighter for sure. Definitely was, man. Now, rumor has it and legend has it, the guy that comes from our city of Cincinnati, Ohio, the late, great Aaron Pryor Sr., a lot of people said Sugar Ray Leonard did not want any smoke with Aaron Pryor. But that's what I've heard. All right. All right. In female boxing, the sister of Daniel Dynamite Dubois, Carolyn Dubois versus Terry Harper in the lightweight women's division. Carolyn is a 25-year-old southpaw stance fighter. She stands 5'5.5" with a 42% KO ratio. And like most prospects, that debut in boxing, Carolyn Dubois was stopping her opponents in her early career. As she's slowly moving up, she's winning. She's been winning more on decision. Because you know what they say: as you move up in opposition, the stoppages come less. Now, her record is 12 wins, no losses, one draw. 5 of her 12 wins are by KO. Her opponent, Terry Harper, she has a record of 16 wins, 6 by KO, 2 losses, and 2 draws, with a 37% knockout ratio. She's age 29, and she's an orthodox stance fighter. And she stands at 5'8.5" with a 65-inch reach. Hailing from Doncaster, Yorkshire, UK. My predictions in this particular match with Carolyn Dubois and Terry Harper, I would say Carolyn by decision or possibly by a late stoppage. And I guess we could note the fact that in 2021, Alicia Baumgartner stopped Terry Harper by TKO. So if Carolyn Dubois can stop her in a better fashion, that's going to just only build up the fight for Carolyn Dubois versus Alicia Baumgartner in the future. So we're going to see, as my cousin said, they're going to let that fight marinate a little bit with Alicia Baumgartner versus Carolyn Dubois in the future. Also on the undercard I spoke about earlier with Tyson Fury versus Magmadov, I want to know your opinion on Jimmy TKV versus Richard Riakporhe. What's your prediction? Richard Riakporhe, age 36, orthodox stance fighter, 78% knockout ratio with a 77-inch reach, standing at 6'5". Richard Riakporhe, he be doing his thing. So I feel like I said earlier in the segment, I feel like he's going to win, if not by a decision, a late round stoppage. I think he's the better conditioned fighter physically and probably has the better gas tank. So I can see him going down the stretch if it doesn't get stopped in the mid rounds, in the late rounds. He's going to likely stop TKV. All right, so on seconds out, Duke McKenzie, out of UK, former boxer, he talks about Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois. And you asked this question earlier, Roger Down. So let's talk about Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dynamite Dubois. They call this don't blink because just that fast, it's going to be over. Don't get me wrong. Anytime you have two heavyweights, not only just two heavyweights, but these two heavyweights both have a 95% KO ratio. 20 wins for Fabio Wardley, 22 wins for. Hey, what's up, Des Scobie? What's going on, man? Please hit that thumbs up button, please. Fabio Wardley, 20 wins. Daniel Dubois, 22 wins. 19 KOs for Fabio Wardley. 21 KOs for Dubois. Like I said, both guys a 95% knockout ratio. First round KOs, 6 for Fabio Wardley, 5 for Daniel Dubois. Now, Dubois is a little more experienced, of course, and has fought more, has fought at a higher level a little more because he's fought more top level opponents. But, this is a fight that's going to come down to, in my opinion, I said this in my other show before today. We know they both can hit because the percentage tells us that. They both have a 95% knockout ratio. So we saw this with AJ versus Dubois before. Dubois landed the first flush punch when he caught AJ walking back in a straight line and caught him with the overhand. So I guess the question is, if Dubois happens to catch Wardley with a similar punch, with all his body weight behind it, how will he react to that punch? Will Wardley be able to take it? Because if he can take that punch, it's going to be a long night for Dubois. And another thing about Fabio Wardley, we have yet to see him be in a situation where a fight was rough, like we saw him losing against Justice Huey. We saw him in a tough first fight with Frazier Clark, and you never saw him cave in. You never saw frustration set in with Fabio Wardley. Well, with Dubois, I can't say that. With Dubois, we saw the Joe Joyce fight. He takes a knee. We understood the eye situation. He couldn't make adjustments. He had no defensive answer for Joe Joyce's pressure and his timing, because Joe Joyce is not a fast puncher. He's a slow puncher, but his timing, he kept catching Dubois with the same punch over and over again. Now, fast forward. Dubois fights Usyk. The first fight was a controversial fight. They rematch, and that's when Usyk says, "Don't push the horses." Don Charles, the trainer of Daniel Dubois, said, "What is he talking about?" And he said again, "Don't push the horses." And we saw what he meant when they met in the ring in the rematch. He dropped Dubois and then went in and finished Dubois. Roger Downs, LOL. Yeah, don't push the horses, man. That's a lesson learned for for Daniel Dubois. Descoby, you said Daniel Dubois is always in the title picture because he pretty much says to whoever wants to fight. What do you think, Descoby? Do you think Wardley versus Dubois? What's your prediction? I'm edging Wardley to win just because I feel like from a mental standpoint, he might be a little bit more ready for if the fight's not going his way, he's not going to get frustrated. Also, Dez, what do you feel about your prediction for Willie Hutchison versus Ezra Taylor? What would be your prediction for that one? And your prediction for Lamont Roach Jr. versus William Zepeda, because Lamont Roach Sr. Claims Pitbull Cruz does not want to run back a rematch and that he's ducking his son, Lamont Jr. Dez, you said depends on how Dubois shows up. I don't do recency bias. Dubois is a good fighter. He's just a gambler's nightmare. Des Scope, you said Willie Hutchinson should get the victory. What about Jamie TKV versus Richard Riakporhe? And Frazier Clark versus Justice Huney? Now, speaking of, Meat Rock 69, what's going on, man? What's up? Please hit the thumbs up, please. Thanks for coming in, man. Um, just here talking some boxing. Des Scobie, you said in the rumor mill they trying to set up Tank Pitbull 2, and the winner of that fights winner of Roach Zepeda. That makes sense, and I did hear about the rumor. Cam J did talk about that rumor. Meat Rock, you said Glanton, who incoming? Yeah, Glanton tonight versus Opetaia, cruiserweight division on Zuffa boxing. Now I'm gonna just touch bases back on the Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley. Now back to what Duke McKenzie said on Seconds Out. He said, this is as he was about to close out the interview. He says, once Fabio Wardley sees blood, I'm paraphrasing, he's going to be like a shark and will go into a frenzy and stop Dubois. So Duke McKenzie feels like Fabio Wardley is going to be too much for Daniel Dubois. And Duke McKenzie, sometimes his predictions be on point. Shout outs to Duke McKenzie. And last but not least, about tonight, yeah. On Zuffa Boxing, Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton. I believe Brandon Glanton is from either Atlanta, Georgia, or from California. But what's your predictions on that cruiserweight main event fight? Des, you said Roach via late round stoppage. That's what I'm thinking too. Des, you said Opetaia versus Glanton is a dark horse for the fight of the year. Des, you said you have to have one of two things to beat Dubois, a jab or a counter punching. It's an interesting style matchup, and I definitely understand, Des, why they call it Don't Blink, because if you go grab something out the kitchen, if you go to the restroom during the fight, you're going to probably miss the fight because at any second, one of those guys could easily stop the fight by way of knockout because you got two massive punchers with a high knockout ratio, and they're going to just be going at each other. Now, one thing I can see with Dubois, though, he seems to be more consistent as far as early rounds. I think the very first round he comes in, he's going to be jabbing and stuff like that. He's going to be trying to go at Fabio Wardley. What worries me with Fabio Wardley is, will he do like he did with Justice Huey and not get in his rhythm early and wait so late and then finally try to land that punch 6 or 7 rounds later? You can't do that with Dubois. If he's going to not get going and get the fire started early, Dubois could stop Fabio Wardley in the first couple rounds, unless Wardley comes right out and guns blazing as well. So it's an interesting style matchup. Now, he did start earlier when he fought Frazier Clark in the rematch. We did see Fabio Wardley start earlier in that fight. Des Scobie, you said Philip Herkovic and AJ tried to punch through the front door on Dubois, and what did we see happen? Yeah, man. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a very intriguing matchup, and we know it's not going to see the final bell. That's the thing about that fight. It is not going to see. It's going to be kind of like a. Well, it could potentially be like George Foreman versus Ron Lau, like two big guys and just a slugfest. It could be like George Foreman versus Ron Lau potentially. Roger Downs, you said Daniel has speed also. Yeah, Daniel has decent speed and he has a very, very good jab. And it's not just like a Larry Holmes flick you jab. It's actually like a real piston. When Dubois hits you with a jab, his jab itself can knock you out. So it's definitely interesting. Dare Scobie, you said, how many more wars does Worley have in him? He can lose his chin overnight at any time. Yeah, he could. He could. That's the thing, because we saw that happen with Joe Joyce. The very thing that people praised most about Joe Joyce was his chin resistance and his ability to take big shots from Daniel Dubois and big punchers. And then comes Zilly Zhang. But see, I think what happened though, even though these guys have good chins, even like Joe Joyce, one of the best heavyweight chins, it's like an ice block. If you keep hitting an ice block, it takes a while, but after a while, that ice block will start to get that crack in it. And once that crack is there, then the next person coming up, it's going to be a lot easier. So I think that even though Zhang stopped Joe Joyce, I think Dubois and Joseph Parker had already started the work. Even though they lost, they probably started to work on the chin of Joe Joyce and tenderized him up. And he was tenderized by the time he got to Zilly Zhang. Dez, you said, the thing is when you know your limit, you know you're saving yourself to fight another day. If you don't know your limit, how do you fight? How do you know when to stop before your body stops? Good question. Very, very, very great question. And that could be a concern, like you said, for Fabio Wardley. We're gonna definitely see. And I don't know. Did you already give me a prediction for Moses Ntuma versus Jermaine Franklin? Do you think Moses Ntuma can actually stop Jermaine Franklin? Jermaine Franklin has not been stopped. He's not been dropped. So do you think that Moses Ntuma would be the first person to stop Jermaine Franklin? And if you missed when I first came in on the show, like I said, congrats to Giorgio Asala. He's a boxer out of Romania who now resides in the UK. And we did a good interview here on Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. So if you go back a few episodes, you will see the interview with me and Giorgio Asala. I know my cousin Rico was there to on the live stream that day, that morning when I went live with the interview. It was a very, very good interview, more like a story. Because when I do my interviews, the person that I interview, it's like they're telling their life story. Like they're telling their story of humble beginnings or, humble beginnings or some of the hardships they dealt with and what led them into boxing, things like that. Who were the people that motivated them to go to the gym, to get in the boxing gym, things like that. So we start from the bottom and we go all the way up to what's current with these up and coming boxers. Shout outs to Giorgio Asala. Des Scobie, you said Franklin is the type of meat and potatoes fighter to push and give rounds to Moses. Moses starts so fast you have to weather or maneuver around his assaults the first couple of rounds. Yeah, man, that's the thing. And one thing about I would have to disagree with sports talk. No, talk sports boxing out of UK. I don't remember if it was Simon Jordan or one of the other guys, but they were basically trying to say that Franklin is going to be there. It might have been Ring Magazine, but anyway, somebody was saying that they feel like Jermaine Franklin will be there just. Oh, maybe it was Paulie Malignaggi, but he said Jermaine Franklin will be in the fight just to try to make it through the fight, like just to do enough to survive a fight with Moses Ntuma. And I'm like, nah, that's never been the style of Jermaine Franklin. When you saw him fight Dillian White, he wasn't moving around like he was trying to be like a William Skull versus Canelo Alvarez, like he was there to survive, or like Jake Paul versus AJ. No, Jermaine Franklin stood in the pocket a lot and went into exchanges with Dillian White. He also stood in the pocket against Anthony Joshua. So it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. He's the shorter guy, the shorter reach. Moses Ntuma and Jermaine Franklin fighting in the pocket, it may not necessarily benefit Jermaine Franklin, but he does have a good chin. Hey, thanks for coming in, Matt 5879. Do me a favor, Matt. Hit the thumbs up button, please, on YouTube. And thanks for coming. Matt, you said Zuffa is okay, but the belt is trash. Looks like a UFC belt. I have to agree. It does look like a UFC belt. This is true. This is true. Dez, you said guys like Franklin and Glanton can't afford to just survive in big opportunity. They have to put out in order to get the cause for fights like these. You bring up a very valid point there, Scobie. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they would hurt their markability if they're there just to survive and they're constantly clinching and moving around the ring and trying to survive and stuff. That will hurt their future chances at these fights at top level. Nobody's going to want to see them fight these top contenders in the division. They're not going to want to see that because they're going to like, he didn't look good in his last outing. He was in there just to survive. Like William Skull. Who's going to really want to invest or have William Skull on a fight card after he looked like that versus Canelo Alvarez? And then his last fight, William Skull got in there and got knocked out. Thanks for coming in. Do I pronounce it Aiden down? You said any fight outside the main event you looking forward to. I honestly will be real with you. I don't really know what the undercard who's really on it. But it's one of them situations that on a Sunday night I don't do much, so I gotta get ready for work in the morning. But I'm just gonna probably just watch it. But I don't really know who's really on the undercard of this particular card. I was just told that it wasn't a very good undercard, so I didn't even think to look it up just because I heard it wasn't going to be that good of a card, so I didn't look too deep into it. Des Scobie, you said Zuffa card is main event heavy. Well, I'm not going to be on here very much longer because I know a lot of you want to watch the fight and tune in tonight. But I really appreciate everybody that came out. And just before I left, for those who just came in, right before I leave, let me go back to my thing real quick. I was just trying to get your prediction. Willie Hutchison versus Ezra Taylor, light heavyweight division. What's your prediction on that fight? That's going to be on the Moses and Tuma versus Jermaine Franklin fight on the 28th. Also, what's your prediction for Moses and Tuma versus Jermaine Franklin? What's your prediction for David Benavidez versus Zerto Ramirez at cruiserweight? What's your prediction for Lamont Roach Jr. versus William Zepeda? And what's your prediction for Rolly Romero versus Devin Haney? What's your prediction in female boxing? Caroline Dubois versus Terry Harper. What's your prediction for Jamie TKV versus Richard Riakporhe in the heavyweight division on the Netflix card of Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov? What is your prediction for Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov? What's your prediction for Justice Huey versus Frazier Clark? And what's your prediction for Daniel Dynamite Dubois versus Fabio Wardley? And also, right before we go, what is your prediction for Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis? Because that made a lot of buzz. And this fight is going to be the co-main event on Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. What is your prediction? Roger Downs, Aiden, what is your prediction for Prograis versus Conor Benn? And Matt J, what is your prediction on those fights there? And yeah, so basically every Sunday I go live. Now here in America, in the Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the USA. So wherever you are around the world, if you look up 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time USA time versus your time, it should give you an idea of your time zone. But I will be here next week at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time USA. Also, I have a link tree on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well. I also have merch. I got hats like this. I got the shirts, the Ring Walk Boxing Podcast shirts, different colors like this one, blue, orange, purple, pink. We have a clothing store online. So if you want to support the channel, check out the clothing store on the link tree. You can follow me. Let me see if I can get on my social real quick. On my link tree on Facebook real quick. So we can see. Okay, on Instagram, you can follow me on Ring Walk Boxing 15. Ring Walk Boxing and the number 15 on my IG. On TikTok, my TikTok page is Bean, BEAN, the number 15, space, ring, space, walk, BXIN. So that's my TikTok. And on Twitter, X, on Twitter, Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. 4 separate words. Ring Walk Boxing Podcast on Twitter. All right, fellas, I appreciate everybody that came through. And hopefully I will see you all next week at the same time. I'm going to get ready to tune in to this this undercard for the Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton. And we'll talk about it next Sunday. So everyone, have a safe one. And I will catch you all on the next round. Peace.